Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mitch Smith, and there was a question here in the Smart Marketers group about how specifically messenger chatbots are used to increase the real estate and loan officer originator leads. And that's what I'd like to address. There's a lot of factors that come into play here, and you really have to look at the situation from a comprehensive, high level perspective. And I mentioned this course that I'm making. I'm going to kind of use this as a highlight to make sure I'm covering everything. One of the major benefits of using the chatbots versus the lead forms is that from the first click, opting in to the ad essentially. So rather than running the ad to a lead form where you're just getting their name, address, or their name, email address, phone number, for instance, you are opting them into the conversation so you can continue the dialogue with them. And that makes a lot more sense than doing lead form leads for several reasons. One, not every person, the way I like to look at this is you're generating conversations, you're not generating leads necessarily. The leads come as a result of the conversations, but not every conversation is a lead. So that's one of the expectations that needs to be set. The other thing is that my primary focus, I've been a realtor and a mortgage loan originator, and I have experience with both. And then I made the switch back in 2013 to doing digital marketing, and the two kind of commingled into my focus becoming generating high quality mortgage leads. So I do Google PPC and everything, but I'm making this course specifically about how to generate high quality mortgage leads with Facebook ads, which actually, to be honest with you, back in about a year ago, I had completely written off Facebook as a way of generating high quality mortgage leads. I tried lead form leads and all different kinds of ads, tested a lot of different stuff. And the conclusion I finally came to was that it was crap. It wasn't worth dealing with. And the reason being was because there was no intent being shown, obviously. So when people use Google, they're showing this intent. I'm trying to solve this problem. I'm trying to answer this question. And so you can catch them with a relevant landing page that's a match to the intent that they're showing for this problem that they're trying to solve. So here's the deal. I had written it off, and then back in June, I had this client that came to me and said, "Hey, I need a system. My entire business model is basically generating realtor leads." He's a loan originator, and he's like, "I'm looking to generate realtor leads and build up a referral network, and essentially base my business on that." Well, I had been focusing on learning chatbots and building chatbots for the previous year or so. And this whole story is necessary because it comes back into how specifically this is done. But I just need to give you a little background so you can understand the thought process and the way that this has all evolved. So this client came to me back in June. I had written off Facebook leads for the mortgage industry. I chose not to get into the real estate just because the mortgage industry specifically was having this problem about generating leads. And so that's what I made my focus into. I wasn't interested in changing my niche to real estate. I was interested in solving this problem for the mortgage business. And so when he came back to me looking for the solution back in around June sometime, I had a feeling when he did that, something had just clicked. What I realized was that the problem wasn't the Facebook lead generation as a whole. The problem was the way that I was going about generating the leads and the questions that I was asking as I was generating the leads. So the reason that the lead form leads suck is because, one, you can't understand anybody's intent, where they're at. Are they actually planning on buying a house? You don't understand any of that stuff. You have to ask people those questions in order to know whether that's the case. One of the things I've learned doing this is you can't take anything for granted at all. It doesn't matter what the ad says. Some people are just on Facebook. They're going to see it. They're just going to click the ad. You can't take anything for granted. You can't assume just because they clicked an ad talking about buying a house or getting some kind of government subsidy or assistance on that home that they are actually even interested in buying a home, which seems crazy, but there's people out there who are just surfing Facebook and they'll just click on pretty images of houses or whatever you have on your ad, and they may not have any intent or capability of buying anything. So you have to understand this as a basic premise. It's not about Facebook leads being crappy. It's about, are you asking the right questions? Are you understanding the prospect as they come into this conversation that you're engaging them with? And then are you establishing yourself? Are you establishing the solution from an angle of credibility, trustworthiness, authority, expertise? Are you telling a story? Are you telling how this real estate project or this mortgage project came about? In order to get somebody to engage with you, there has to be a level of trust and credibility that you're establishing in this engagement. And you can't do that from an ad. You can't do that even really from just building up a following on Facebook page. You have to do that from, one of the great ways is by telling a story. Why did you get into the business? How many families have you helped? Or maybe if it's not the realtor themselves or the loan originator themselves that needs to be telling a story, maybe they're new to the business. They don't have that much experience. Talk about the brokerage or the company that they work for. Tell their story. There needs to be some kind of story that helps to connect with the audience. So that's kind of the basis. Getting a lead form lead, it limits you because all you have is this basic information that the people probably didn't even necessarily want to submit. You just don't understand anything about them if you're collecting lead form leads. The answer is in the chatbots, and I'll cover that here in a second. So the reason that it works is because of your ability to tell the story, establish your credibility, opt the prospect into the conversation with one click versus getting them versus getting their information with a lead form lead. Now, there's a little learning process that you have to go through with clients in order to understand this, because they need to know that not every conversation is going to be a lead. What we're doing is we are segmenting an audience. So if we were to look at a segment of a population, of any population, and since Facebook has taken back their ability to target homeowners, obviously they're not using the third-party data anymore. When they were, that made this thing a little bit easier, but now you're targeting a wide audience. It might only be an age segment in an area that you're targeting. So you have to start with the basics of first establishing the credibility, telling your story in a little brief thing, in a little brief opening. So basically, the way, if you haven't used ManyChat, for instance, so that's what I use for Messenger chatbots. If you haven't used it before, the way it works is whenever somebody clicks the ad, your call to action on the ad versus taking them to the lead form landing page or to an external website or anything like that, all those are really crappy ways to go for this specific application. Versus doing that, what happens is a single message gets sent to their inbox, to the Messenger inbox, and it can be it's an intro message that's asking them to click the button to get this engagement started. So depending on how you present yourself and what kind of solution that it is that you're offering and how you've named your page, everything like that, there's a whole strategy that even goes into naming pages. So here's one of the things that I see that people do wrong. Maybe there's a realtor you're working with. They're an individual realtor. Maybe they haven't been in the business for a long time. Maybe they aren't telling their story. They're not talking about how they're actually helping clients. There's not a brand that's associated with their name, but they're using their name on the page. That would be what I would consider not an ideal way to go. They either need to, if that page is already set up, there needs to be a branding /story/ method of establishing credibility and authenticity for that brand, that person's name. Or you have to take this other approach and name the page in a way that will appeal to an audience who might be interested in purchasing a home, getting mortgage financing, etc. The other thing to learn here, depending on who you are and why you're watching this, if you're generating mortgage leads, the mortgage leads are actually just a side effect of generating the real estate leads. So process that for a second. People don't want the mortgage, they want the real estate. But here's the beauty of the chatbots is you're no longer limited by just generating the real estate leads. You're no longer limited by just generating the mortgage leads. In fact, you would be short-sighted not to use every opportunity, every conversation that you have started with a prospect to give yourself the opportunity to ask the right questions to understand, is this person a mortgage lead? If you're generating, every effort in using Facebook has to be geared around generating real estate leads, because this is what people want. They want the pretty homes. They want this idea, this concept of buying this house. And what you're doing is you're first opening up a conversation with this intro message. Sometimes mine will be as simple as, hey, thanks for reaching out. Please click the button below, use some emojis, say, down arrow, click the button below to begin this 60-second process, or something to that effect, or just click the button below to begin. And then they just tap the button. As soon as they tap that button, you now have this conversation that gets opted into from, you can either have the messages go straight to ManyChat and manage all of the conversations there, or you can have them go out to the Facebook Messenger through the business manager. You can manage them there. But this conversation is started. Now, not everybody will go all the way through your conversation sequence. So part of this thing is helping people go through the process. But the reason, more specifically to address this question about how specifically this is done, I'm not going to show you my full chat sequences here just because I'm not going to do that, but I will break down the gist of them so that you can understand the reasoning. This is as close as I'm going to zoom in on this, but you can understand the methodology and the reasoning behind, oh, you got a little glimpse of it. I didn't mean to come to this browser, but Loom just jumped over. So you got a sneak peek. So here's what we're doing here. Essentially, so we're talking about real estate leads right now, but I'm also going to get into mortgage a little bit. This is actually a refi campaign. So I'm glad let's see, actually, let me double check that. Yeah, that's a refi campaign. This one's a first-time home buyer. And what we're doing here, this is a fairly new setup that we've set up here. We're actually going more heavy on the refi for this situation because this campaign specifically is set up because we're going heavy on holiday refinances. Consolidate your bills, take the vacation of your dreams for the holidays. And, we've got some imagery with presents around Christmas tree. Utilize the equity in your home to solve these problems in your life. And this is basically what we're doing. But the conversation is geared around the type of home that they're looking for otherwise. So this is a first-time home buyer campaign. This is a little confusing the way I'm describing this. This is a first-time home buyer campaign. And just to kind of summarize in a general sense of the term, here. So I'm learning that as I click around, Loom is switching with me. So what's happening is basically first we're establishing a little credibility in the beginning. Like I mentioned, if you haven't done this before, there's going to be a short message that gets delivered. And after somebody clicks the get started button, and then what I do, it'll say get started. Then what I do is I tell a little story that establishes credibility, trustworthiness, and basically that this interaction that you're engaging in, it could be a potential situation based on the story that I'm telling you, or these facts about this business that I'm coming from. So what we do first is we essentially start off with, if we're talking about buying a home, maybe we're talking. So this specific campaign utilizes the call to action and the ad are based on a state. I'm not even going to get into too much detail here. It's a state down payment assistance program that we're kind of pushing to get people engaged with this process. And so what we're doing from the beginning is we're telling in 2 or 3 little sequences here, a couple of sentences in each thing. We do a pause in between each one because you don't want to bombard people with message. People be like, whoa, you're blowing me up. They still might do that, but you're giving at least 3-second pauses in between. So you're not overwhelming them straight from the start. Another way to do this would be to create a video. If you have a client or if you are in the mortgage or real estate business yourself, Another thing you can do with ManyChat is you can embed a video on here. So you might tell a little story, then you might have a little video. You don't want to make it where the person has to watch the video in order to proceed. The reason for the video is just so they can see you as a person. People will obviously have more of an opportunity to feel comfortable with you if you have a video. But these campaigns for this client have been working great. They actually do have quite a bit of established credibility. They've got good Google reviews, and they've got a pretty well established brand in their market. What I'm doing on this, the way that I'm specifically going about for first time, what we're doing is targeting first time home buyers, but we can't target that for an audience anymore on Facebook, right? So we are targeting. I've tested this doing some interest. I take all the interest out. This little just trade secret for the way that Facebook's targeting now. I just do an age, and I take out all of the interest targeting, period. I've tested this both ways. From what I found for doing first time home buyers right now, I just take all that stuff out. And so first we'll start off with a question. After giving this little intro here, we could say something like, do you currently own a home? Ask, we're talking about first time. The ad was for first time home buyers, but we're saying, do you currently own a home? Because like I said, you don't want to take anything for granted. And then it will say, yes, I do. No, I don't. Maybe I used to, something to that effect. Then what you want to do is depending on how they answered that question, you want to then follow it up with, are you currently on the market to purchase a home? Are you by asking these questions, we're already doing something that we couldn't do with the lead form. One, we got them engaged in this conversation. We can hop in at any point, talk to them. Two, we're actually asking them, do they own a home right now? Are they interested are they on the market to purchase a home? We can go into, have they identified a specific home that they're interested in purchasing? But, it's a conversational sequence. So not every path is going to go to the same place. So let's say, I'm just looking on my other screen here. Let's say, are you on the market to purchase a home? And they're saying, let's see, I'm interested in refinancing. So here's another thing to take into consideration. If you're working with realtors, you want to also have a mortgage person in the works for this. You might even be able to have them split the ad budget with your realtor client, because there always needs to be, every person who's buying a home, if we look at this home buying trajectory, there's a couple things we have to understand here. One of them is that most of them will need a mortgage. Well, we have to ask them to find out, but most people won't be able to finance with cash. People are going to most likely be using a realtor, but there's always an opportunity for both. There could even be a total integration here about insurance and stuff like that, but people don't really want to talk about that stuff. I have been involved with lead generation projects where insurance providers will get involved in the funding of this, but I'll try to stay on task here. We're talking about how specifically. So in going along the conversation sequence, we might say, are you on the market to purchase a new home? Depending on how they ask that, have you already identified a specific home you're interested in? Then you might say, where is it located? Now, in order to do an open answer type response to allow that, you have to pay for the Pro ManyChat subscription. It starts at $10 a month. I've got several of them that I run for myself, and then I've got all my clients. I make them set up a card and pay for this. So you want to go into, have you already identified a home? Yes, no, maybe, something like to that effect are the answer choices. Then you might go into what type, depending on how they answer that, what is the price point approximately? Then segment them based on that. Now, at every point that they answer one of these questions, what we're doing is we're tagging their contact with, let's say, for the price point, let's say that for the price point, we're going into, it's like 400,000 or less, 400 to 800,000 or 800,000 plus, something to that effect. You want to tag the person for each one of these things, because as we go back into the audience, we can see who all has been tagged with each one of these things. And then we can create broadcasts that are mass broadcasts to everybody who is buying in this thing. So for instance, let's say we've done this and we're taking all the people who say 400 to 800,000. We have an active realtor that we're working with. We can go back and do a broadcast and say, hey, look at this beautiful home we just listed. Or just say, maybe they're working with another realtor. We can say, hey, look, our office just listed these homes. Would you be interested in looking at these? Would you like to schedule an appointment so we can help you find your dream home? What you want to do is just continue. If some people will stop, some people will go all the way through and they'll answer all the questions. But the key is to segment the audience. So again, we're taking a large population, which is going to be the Facebook audience. Out of that population, there are some people who are going to be in the market to buy a home. It's just the way it is. There's some people who are using Messenger that have a Facebook account that are going to be buying a home. But unless we take the proper steps necessary to segment the audience and figure out who those people are and figure out who we can pay attention to based on their answers to these questions and the way that we've segmented them, then we don't know who we should be spending our time with. And yes, the leads will be shitty because not every person that responds to this ad is going to be a lead, period. Not everybody needs a phone call. I've had clients that this is it's a learning curve for them because some companies are just used to buying leads. They're just, they buy these lists of leads. The leads get sold to every company that's interested in buying them. Anybody that has a pulse, that has a credit card, they'll sell you lists and everybody gets those leads and you have phone numbers, email addresses. You just blow these people up. They're getting blown up by every other company and it's just a numbers game. If you can blow somebody up and blow them up in a more friendly way and come across them with a solution, then you get deals. This is something completely different than that. You have to be able to discern based on the answers that get provided, who is worthy of getting a phone call. Now, this is for first-time home buyers. If there's any, so the conversation will continue here. So basically what I'll do is I'll say, we'll go from for this specific campaign that I've got here, we'll go from one second. We'll go from the asking about, have they already found a home? What area are they looking in? And then I have a different trajectory up here for, I don't own a home, or no. So if people say I own a home right now and I'm not in the market to purchase, then it will go through this. I'm looking to refinance would be another one. So our ad might have been for money to help people buy a home, but the people actually already have a home. They're not on the market. They're interested in refinancing. Well, if you didn't have a partnership or some kind of involvement from a mortgage company, you can collect this information, but it's not going to do any good to your realtor client. So that's just something to keep in mind here. The people who are answering these questions don't even have anything to do with the original ad or anything like that. But since we're using the chatbot, we're able to properly segment that audience and get more information and learn more about who it is that we're dealing with, what it is they're trying to accomplish, and how it is that we need to engage with them moving forward. And so after we ask all these questions, then we'll circle back around. The way I have this set up right now, it'll be something like, are you working with a mortgage professional right now? And then yes, no, then we tag them. So we're segmenting the audience, and then it'll say, something to the effect of, what's the best time of day to reach you? What's the best phone number? And then it will say, thanks for reaching out. A member of our team, a licensed member of our team, will be in touch to chat with you soon. Now, here's what you'll find. If you're doing first-time homeowners, or you're doing some kind of campaign that promotes, you have to have something, right? You have to have something that you give people. It can't just be like, let us help you find a home. So we're following this real estate path. We want to qualify for the house and all this stuff, but there has to be a reason that people get the conversation started to begin with. So sometimes that will involve the mortgage side, and that's why it's important to have the two together, because if there's a state program or there's some type of government, it could be promoting the benefits of an FHA loan. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's all about the way you word and present. Smart first time Alabama home buyers are taking advantage of, in your ad copy, going back to the ad copy, it might be like, smart first time Alabama home buyers are taking advantage of government subsidized programs that help homeowners save money and, get home ownership, save money on rent, and own your home today. Use lots of emojis and stuff like that, for an example. But so we're starting off with this thing about financing the home because everybody's got to pay for this home that they're interested in getting. but we're not talking about the mortgage. We're just talking about saving money on it. And there's these programs to help you. Then we get into the situation of finding out, do they own a home? Are they in the market to buy a home? What is it that exactly that they're trying to do? And we're filtering and segmenting this audience along the way. But what you'll find is that some people won't go all the way through the conversation, obviously. Some people will go through here and they'll just stop on a certain question. So there's ways that you can automate this inside of ManyChat where you can say, if a person gets to this question and they don't answer after this, it can get kind of complicated. The easier way to do it, honestly, without becoming like a ManyChat ninja, is just to basically get in this deal where you have something that you're copying and pasting to them. So for my clients, some of them, I'll set this up for them. I'll record a video and show them how to use this stuff. And in the conversation, people who don't go past a certain point, maybe it's just a deal where they're like, hey, use their first name and say, I saw that you were in. So like, pay attention to what the fuck they just said that they wanted to do. Like, you don't want to just do a copy and paste thing where you don't use their name, you don't pay attention to anything. You want to actually treat them like a human who just came on here. So maybe if they get to this part and they're saying, maybe I found a home. So I always do yes, no, maybe. Like, have you already found a home? I'd be like, yes, no, maybe. And maybe they're like, so maybe this person's like, are you interested in have you found a specific home you're interested in purchasing? And they say possibly. And they say, where is it located? And they stop. You can go back. A savvy person would understand that this is a human here on the other end of this, and you're trying to help them in this situation. So you might say, hey, Vanessa, I understand you don't own a home, and you might be on the market to purchase, and it looks like maybe you're already looking at some homes. I have a team of mortgage and real estate professionals here who are exceptionally awesome at helping people obtain home ownership. And we take like a full approach to this situation to really look at your situation and figure out what home is going to make sense and how we can help you save money and obtain home ownership and stop renting. Use the information that they've provided in the chatbot sequence to reverberate to them. Hey, this is what I see that you're telling me. This is how I can help you with that. And a lot of times people will just message say, hey, is it cool if I just call you in a little bit? Like, a lot of times people won't go all the way through. Sometimes people will just say, hey, I'm about to give you a call, or would you mind just calling me at this time? People don't always go all the way through the thing, but the thing is that you're segmenting and you're understanding your audience, whereas when you use the lead form, you couldn't do that. Now, I'm about to transition to people who are working with mortgage things, because I have written this off for the mortgage business for a long time. I'm having a lot of luck right now. It's not really luck. I'm having a lot of awesome results right now using these for refi campaigns. Now, this can be always adjusted throughout the holidays, but what's happening is basically for a setup like this, what we're doing is we're asking people kind of the same questions. We're just asking them, do they own a home? Some people don't own a home. So it's a similar type approach as the other one. So people who own a home, this is for a refi campaign. So if the people own a home and they say that are you looking to refinance? What is it you're looking to accomplish with the refinance? So you can take them down this segment of, yes, I own a home. Yes, I'm in the market to refinance. This is what I'm looking to obtain from the refinance, et cetera, to go taking them down this process. Well, like I said, since the targeting can't only target people who own homes, some people will just see the pretty pictures and they'll click it. So you say, do you own a home? And they'll say, so you tell your story, you establish your credibility, then you say, do you own a home? And people will say, some people will say, no, I don't own a home. And you say, okay, no worries. Are you on the market to purchase a home? And then you say, yes, no, I might be soon. And you say, okay, great. Where is it? So if it's like yes or I might be soon, then you say, okay, what area is it that you might be looking in? Like, you can also throw in some things like we have some programs for first-time home buyers and for for these specific situations. Everything's going to be different, right? So it depends on the company you're working with, what kind of solutions they have to offer, what the state offers, what kind of like how can you what is it that you can provide to people that will actually help them and encourage them to go through this process. And it starts with establishing the credibility, telling the story, asking the right questions to understand where they are along this process, and then filtering them as you do this. So I'm going to hop back here. There's some other important stuff. The images that you use on your ad copy is good. So on this course that I'm creating, I should be done with it hopefully this week, if not next week. But I've got most of these recorded already. I'm actually giving the templates for the chatbots that I'm using. I'm showing how to connect them with the ads. I'm giving ad templates. Might as well do some shameless self-promotion here. But what I'm doing is basically providing templates for ads, templates for chatbots, showing how to connect everything and tie everything together, and how to get quick followers, doing some ninja follower tactics, how to complete the profiles quickly, how to name the page, which is an important part of this, branding, telling your story, establishing credibility, who this is for, who this is not for. For this specific course, this comes down to the situation I mentioned as far as some companies are just expecting to buy these lists of leads. And if you have a bunch of loan originators that are just on auto dialers where they're just waiting for people to pick up the phone as the computer calls all these people, and people pick them up, you're just blowing up. That's not how you do this. So this would not be for somebody who is using auto dialers to call people, which is illegal in the first place. I don't condone it, but it's definitely, that's not who I work with. So making sure legal compliance policy, your privacy policy and disclosures, this is an important part of it too. So yeah, basically this course will give all the templates and things and show how to configure all this. Reverse mortgages can also be done with this with good success. What I've noticed with reverse mortgages, for any mortgage people who might still be following this, or for anybody who has mortgage clients, you can do this very well with mortgage clients. But what I've noticed is you have to take this more, asking for permission approach. I'm trying to find the right word from the very beginning, because what I find is that most older people that you're segmenting, you're targeting, are not going to be as willing to answer any questions. So what you have to do is from the very beginning is establish credibility, tell your story about the awesome reverse mortgage solutions that you provide. And what you want to say is, would you prefer, you have to say something to the effect of, in order to understand your situation, we just have a few questions that we need to ask. Would you prefer to answer those over the phone, or would you prefer to answer them here? And basically just give them those options. Most people will say, I'd rather talk on the phone. So you're at least getting that information from them. And then people can give you the phone number. You can offer a phone number for them to call. Reverse mortgages are great on Facebook. You just can't have this expectation of everybody becoming a lead, and also that everybody will answer all the questions. Every once in a while, you'll get somebody with reverse mortgage campaigns that will go all the way through, but it's very rare. Older people are obviously a little more afraid of the technology, a little more afraid of being taken advantage of. Reverse mortgages are historically more predatory by nature, just because of some bad apples that have spoiled the pot for the people who are actually trying to help seniors find responsible reverse mortgage solutions. So hopefully this answers your questions. This course will be coming out. iFunnel is my company, FogPusher, iFunnel.app, fogpusher.com. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. I am a bit buried with client projects and making this course at the moment. I do some other stuff in the medical marijuana biz that I'm rolling out, but I will try to, within reasonable limits, to help as much as I can. And hopefully this helps. I will talk to you guys soon.